Good evening, Dharma friends. Welcome to this Saturday Sutta study class. Today is March 19, Saturday. Another beautiful evening to explore the Dharma with the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem and also those Kalyanamitas who join with us from different channels. It is a great pleasure to be with those Dharma friends with some discourses that uttered by the Buddha or other venerable monks, because we all know the fact that we get the opportunity to dig into our mind and body to see the Dhamma as it is, or otherwise with the words of the Buddha, we look at ourselves to see the truth of ourselves as well as everybody else and the entire universe. For those people who tasted the Dhamma, this moment, either for 1 hour or 1 hour and 15 minutes, enjoyed very much because they have tasted the Dhamma. So let me welcome you all for this Sutta study class, and let's try our best to understand the Sutta as a discourse from Venerable Anand this time, and then try to connect with us, with the Dhamma in the discourse as well as in the entire Tripitaka, entire Buddha's words. Let me begin the Sutta study class by reciting the Namo Tassa 3 times in Pali and in English to pay our due respect to the Supreme Buddha. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Fully Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Fully Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Fully Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Friends, the sutta we selected for today's studies is Attakanagar Sutta. First of all, our appreciation go to Derek for selecting this sutta and suggesting us, and also Dr. Pial for providing us some readings collecting from different Nikayas. So we thank you, both of you, on behalf of everyone who participate in this virtual Sutta studies, for your dedication and compassion for us. So the Sutta Attakanagara is the 52 of the Majjhima Nikaya. I think one of the Nikaya we always associate is Majjhima Nikaya because it is marvelous, it is valuable in many ways. In terms of selecting very complete, very full suttas which include many Dhamma facts, I think Majjhima Nikaya is the best. It doesn't mean that I disregard the other Nikayas. If you want to know much information of certain things, you may read those 34 discourses in Digha Nikaya. And if you need to have more details, nitty-gritty detail things of a particular Dhamma facts, just read Samyutta Nikaya. And if you want to find something in numbers, you can read Anguttara Nikaya. So, and then if you go to Khuddaka Nikaya, it's vivid and very colorful with many Dhamma aspects. So each Nikayas are important. But the suttas in Majjhima Nikaya, I think are very, very good for those beginners and those who want to really practice the Dhamma while reading. I think Majjhima Nikaya is the excellent source for all of us. The other thing I just want to share is that if you read some very important discourses from Majjhima Nikaya in Numbers, I think 25, from not from the very beginning. It is if it is good, if you begin somewhere else, it doesn't matter. Any sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, if you read such suttas, I would say 20-25, you would catch all these Dhamma elements in the Buddha's teaching. Many of them are included, those suttas. So that is additional to Attakanagara Sutta. So Attakanagara Sutta is 52 of Majjhima Nikaya, and that sutta is named by the person's place of living. The main there are two main characters in the discourse. One is Venerable Ananda, the great attendants to the Buddha, and the other one is Dasama of Attakanagara. So he came to Pataliputra for business matters. Then he met Venerable Ananda through another monk, and the discussion between Venerable Ananda and Dasama of Attakanagara went on to those wonderful Dhamma facts. So Sutta is named by Attakanagara. So let us read this discourse. I think from the email which I sent this morning, I guess you would you read it. If you did not go through, you may get these points of initial Dhamma facts of the discourse by reading. This is one discourse we found that Buddha's place of living is not mentioned. In some commentaries, it is said that Buddha, not those commentaries that come from Theravada tradition, but in some analysis, people doubt that whether the Buddha passed away. But it does not mean here, because the question Dasama asked hints that Buddha is living at the moment somewhere when they have this discussion. Anyway, we have no much information to say that, but this is one of the discourses Venerable Ananda delivered, and there is no any mention about the Buddha at the very beginning. Thus, I have heard on one occasion the Venerable Ananda was living at Beluagama near Vesali. This is really interesting. Venerable Ananda was telling all these suttas at the first Sangha Council to other bhikkhus for their confirmation whether the Dhamma is true and so on. So thus I have heard is Venerable Ananda's statement, and he had to say certain things that he involved with in such a manner. So when you go to legal matters and matters that need some method, you say your name just like somebody says. So like something like that happened here, I think, at the Sangha Council. So Venerable Ananda was living at Beluagamaka near Vesali. If you know the map of India, Beluagam and Vaishali and Patna today, Pataliputra is called Patna today. So they are not that far. They are close by. So then the Venerable Ananda was at Beluagamaka near Vesali. On that occasion, the householder Dasama of Attakanagara had arrived at Pataliputra for some business or other. Then he went to a certain bhikkhu in Kukkuta's park, and after paying homage to him, he sat down to one side and asked him, "Where does the Venerable Ananda live now?" Venerable Sir, I wish to see the Venerable Ananda. So the monastery Dasama first went is Kukkuta. It's called park dedicated for chicken. The Pali word Kukkuta means chicken. I don't know whether it is a place where chickens are protected or farm or whatever it is. It is called Kukkutaram. There was a monastery at the time of the Buddha called Kukkutaram. I think it's close by. So that's the place where Dasama first went and met a monk and asked about Venerable Ananda. This monk said that Venerable Ananda now residing at Beluagamaka, it is a village near Vesali. According to Mahaparinibbana Sutta, Buddha was residing at this place for some time during his last tour, which went for nearly 9 or 10 months. When the householder Dasama had completed his business and Pataliputra, he went to Venerable Ananda at Beluagama near Vesali. After paying homage to him, he sat down at one side and asked him, Venerable Ananda, has any one thing has proclaimed by the Blessed One who knows and says, accomplished and fully enlightened? His unliberated mind comes to be liberated. His undestroyed taints come to be destroyed, and he attains the supreme security from bondage that he had not attained before. So this is why I told you that the Buddha could be living at the time these two person had this discussion. Venerable Ananda, has any one thing been proclaimed by the Buddha who knows and sees? Grammatically, it could be the Buddha passed away, or maybe slightly he is living, but I don't know. Anyway, it is not the case we want to learn. We have so many Dhamma facts inside the discourse to read and understand. So let's pay attention to them. So when Dasama's questions is very legitimate in my view, because as a layperson who does business may not be having much time to meditate, may not be having time to go to the monastery every day and listen to Dhamma talks, discussion, and other conversation. So usually people who are busy need some quick explanation, very attractive things to hang on. So Dasama would be like that in my view. So is there one thing, according to the Buddha, that one can take and practice the Dhamma, and can that person liberate his mind from bondage, attachment, and confirm his nirvana? So we have to simplify the question he asked, because the question itself is one para long, which may be losing our attention when you read to the end. Anyway, the simple meaning is that, is there one practice that I or anybody can take and liberate myself from suffering? Venerable Ananda's answer is brilliant as he does always, because as you know, he's the foremost of remembering or recollecting the Dhamma the Buddha delivered at any time. It means that Venerable Ananda came to the order after some time. The Buddha attained to full enlightenment, but one of his agreement with the Buddha is to hear all these Dhammas the Buddha delivered before his ordination, so that we know the fact that Venerable Ananda knew everything Buddha said, so that giving answers to any questions asked anyone would be easier for Venerable Ananda than any other, except Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Mantaniputta, because Venerable Mantaniputta is the teacher of Venerable Ananda. So I think those monks, except Venerable Ananda, could answer any questions related to Dhamma, but Venerable Ananda's presence in the Bhikkhu and Bhikkhuni and lay order would be very crucial. If you look at the first Sangha Council, you know that. So Venerable Ananda said, there is householder indeed one such thing proclaimed by the Buddha. So if you want to practice just one thing, become master on this one particular thing, we can achieve that nirvana. What is that? What is that one thing, Venerable Sir? Here, how Dasama, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome state, a bhikkhu enters upon and abide in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applied and sustained thought with rapture and pleasure born of seclusion. I'm reading the Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation. So when you go to Bhikkhu Thanissaro, Bhikkhu Sujata, you get different words for these, but I think it's fine if you go with any familiar translation so that you can understand better. So what is that one thing one can get into and abandon or destroy those unwholesome state, particularly taints, asavas? That is the first jhana. So I think all of us need to get the familiarity with the first jhana, because that is the first and very close state of mind one can attain to taste the nirvana. In Chulahatta Padopama Sutta, in Majjhima Nikaya, Buddha talks about the footprint of the Tathagata. The first one, as I remember, is the first jhana. It means when you attain to first jhana, you know, of course, what the nirvana is. Of course, it's just like you are 50 kilometers or 30 kilometers away from CN Tower in Toronto. You see that tower from long distance, which it sounds like you are certain to go there. You are certain if you want to go, and you haven't mistaken your road to go to Toronto. It's an early signs that you can go to the downtown Toronto and see the CN Tower, right? So like that, when you attain to first jhana, you have done kind of destruction, temporarily destruction of 5 hindrances, so that the enormous have pleasure and joy in the first jhana makes you certain on the practice. So that is why Buddha always asks us to go to a forest or to an empty place of people or to a foot of a tree and meditate on any familiar subject to attain jhana. It is you know, while you are doing that, while you are striving for that, you learn how to let go of those unwholesomeness completely. So first you train, and on the training you do it temporarily. At some point where your practice become matured, you can pull out those unwholesomeness. So that the first jhana is really important. I encourage you to keep those words in mind, either in Pali or in English. In Pali, it's called Vivicheva Kamehi Akusale Dhammehi Savitakkang Savicharang Vivekajang Piti Sukang Patamanjanang Upasampajju Viharati. Here it is said secluded, quite secluded, completely secluded from sensual pleasures, which hints the kama chand, the sensual pleasures of the 5 hindrances, and secluded from unwholesome states, the other 4 hindrances. So secluded from all the hindrances, which means taking out your mind away out from those 5 hindrances, or taking those 5 hindrances out from your mind. At the same time, the person you are does that, enters upon and abide in the first jhana, which has 5 qualities. What are these 5 qualities in the first jhana? Applied and sustained thought, vitakka vichara, and then rapture, piti, sukha, pleasure, born from seclusion, ekaggata. So ekaggata means one-pointedness. Your mind has reached to a level where there is no disturbances and it is focused, and in that mind, pleasure is there, rapture is there, and then applied and sustained thoughts. This is a very good experience and could be gained by anyone if they put their mind into right directions. It could be attained either by doing anapanasati, buddhanusati, dhammanusati, any anisati meditation, any karmasthana Buddha recommends in the Tripitaka, you could be doing that. However, one must be careful, because there are wrong jhanas over the all the way to those jhana attainments. There are wrong absorption too, but with instruction you can do it. So when you have these 5 qualities: applied thought, sustained thoughts, rapture, pleasure, and one-pointedness, those 5 hindrances have gone. Pancha chinde, pancha jahe, pancha juttari bhave, pancha sangatiko bhikkhu. In as I remember in Sutta Nipata and also in Samyutta Nikaya, this statement is recorded: pancha chinde, pancha jahe. When you destroy 5 things, five another things arise. What are the 5 things you destroy temporarily? The 5 hindrances, and at the same time, simultaneously, these 5 things in the first jhana come into. So let's go. A very interesting part come after that. He considers, the one who attained to first jhana considers this and understand it as like this. This first jhana is conditioned and volitionally produced. But whatever is conditioned and volitionally produced is impermanent, subject to cessation. If he is steady in that, he attains the destruction of the taints. That is a very powerful statement. Practically, the one who attains to first jhana for the first time may not be able to doing this, because the one who attained to first jhana for the first time or for the second time, if you attain to it recently, you may be enjoying its pleasure. You may be trying to confirm yourself on the first jhana over and over again, because perhaps with one first attainment, you may not be keeping all these steps to go into first jhana, so that in the second time you may be failing to get. So that in the first, depending on personal experiences and knowledge, some people could get into quickly, but some people stay some time in the same level to become a master on that. So, however, the fact is that if you really taste it and enough, it is a natural moment, or there is a natural tendency for you to get out of it, because you don't enjoy it anymore. You feel that it is temporarily, definitely. When you are in this cushion with the meditation subject, you quickly get it. But after some time, out of meditation, you lose that energy and you feel it, so that you reconfirm that this is impermanent. So this is how you practice samatha and vipassana together. Temporarily, we can say that attaining to first jhana could be doing in samatha techniques, like you look at the breath, and then so you slowly takes your mind into a peaceful state. So you recognize that this is the first jhana, and so forth. So you have been in samatha techniques. So in order to get into nirvana from the first jhana, you have to apply that method that we always talk about in the framework of vipassana. So this is the way the Venerable Ananda explained, is both samatha and vipassana. So if this person understand everything about first jhana, if this person understand that this is something conditional and volitional, they are very powerful words. First jhana is therefore conditional state, sankata, made by, created by, produced by, and intentionally you created that situation in your mind. So we all know the fact that yankinchi samudaya dhamma sabbantan nirodha dhamma. If something arises due to causes and condition, that very state might get off when the conditions departs. The results of that particular thing will go away when the conditions for that results go away. So that is the paticca samuppanna dharmata in the Buddha's teaching. So with that in mind, this is something produced. You are not hanging on to it. So, but whatever is conditioned and volitional produce is impermanent. So these are very important. This is impermanent and subject to cessation. I will explain here a part of another sutta in Anguttara Nikaya number 9 and 36. It's called Janasutta. You might question what kind of things we look at just to see impermanence and cessation. Friends, the simple answer is whatever you feel at the moment you are in the first jhana should be investigated as impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and unself. But it may not be clear what it is. This sutta in Anguttara Nikaya explained that. Let me tell you that. I tell you the ending of the mental fermentation, asava, on the first jhana. Thus, it has been said, in reference to what was it said, this is the case where a monk, secluded from sensual pleasure, secluded from unskillful qualities, enters and remain in the first jhana. Rapture and pleasure born of seclusion, accompanied by directed thought and evaluation. He regards whatever phenomena there. This is the important part. He regards whatever phenomena there that are connected with form, rupa, feeling, vedana, perception, sanya, fabrication, sankhara, and consciousness, vinyana. So let me read that part again. He regards whatever phenomena there that are connected with form, feeling, perception, fabrication, and consciousness as inconstant, stressful, a disease, a cancer, an arrow, a painful, an affliction, aliens, disintegration, and emptiness, and non-self. So the thing we need to understand is that in the first jhanic mind, what he or she has is panchakanda, rupa, vedana, sanya, sankhara, vinyana. So whatever you focus in the first jhanic mind is nothing but form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. So that is what you investigated as impermanence, anicca, unsatisfactoriness, dukkha, and non-self, anatta. So when you do that, not just once, over and over, that part should be understood by your practice. So that's why I told you at the very beginning that if one attains to first jhana for the first time, practically we can say that he may not be doing this. The one who has attained to over and over is looking for an avenue to go into destruction of craving, and that person can do this because he has enough experience on the first jhana. If he's steady in that, so now he considers his first jhanic mind, vitakka, vichara, applied and sustained thoughts, rapture and pleasure, and ekaggata, one-pointedness. So he look at those qualities, and he sees or she sees that this is form, this is feeling, perception, this is a fabrication, this is about consciousness. So these are the things I can say. So they are impermanent, unsatisfied. So if you are steady, which means if you can concentrate on that further over and over, he attains the destruction of taints. He can go into destruction of kamasava, bhavasa, ajja. So which means he fed up with the pleasure of first jhana, so that he never enjoys that pleasure anymore, because kamasava is gone, bhavasava is gone, avijjasava is gone, and ditthiyasava is gone as well. So Venerable Ananda talks about the full enlightenment here. If that is not happening, but if he does not attain the destruction of the taint because of the desire for the Dhamma, that delightness in the Dhamma, Dhamma ragena, Dhamma nandiya, these are the two words in Venerable Ananda used in Pali, Dhamma Ragena, Dhamma Nandiya. So you have a desire for Dhamma, whatever you experience, and you are delighted with that. In that case, you cannot attain to full enlightenment, arahantship, but with the destruction of 5 lower fetters, personality view, wrong practices and rituals, skeptical doubts, and then kamaraga, what do you call, the desire for again sensual pleasure, and then ill will. So you destroy these 5 lower fetters and certain yourself that you are in anaga. So here there is additional information that if you did not do anything in this very life, you either attain to full enlightenment between the passing away from here and appearing over in the Brahma realm, or there are other ways of doing that. So anyway, so now we know that the first jhana would the basis for some people in the training for arahantship or anagami states. So there would be many questions for many people now. Then how could that monk complete the noble eightfold path, because he or she has not gone through the second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana to complete the samma samadhi? Then what exactly happened to him? So I listen to many such questions, and perhaps you have them in your mind. But let me continue little further in the discourse so that we can know those ways of nirvana according to Venerable Ananda. I want to tell you that there are 11 ways of attainment to nirvana, attainment to anagami experience. So it is better for us to know those 11 states first, then we go to the discussion. So Venerable Ananda concluded that this is one such thing proclaimed by the Buddha for someone to attain nirvana, to liberate himself from samsara. So if one practiced up to this first jhana and with instruction and with his own experience, if he practice vipassana or on that, or so you can destroy the craving to make sure you full enlightenment or anagami. Then again with the dasama, so according to the discourse, Venerable Ananda started telling the other things also related to. Again, with the stilling of applied and sustained thought, a bhikkhu enters and abide in the second jhana. So, if one does not attain to arahantship and non-fraternal level in the first jhanic experience, he can or she can go to the second jhana, and that would be another mental state that one can reflect as anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Again, what they reflect to see anicca, dukkha, and anatta, the 5 aggregates of clinging. In the first jhana, you have attachment to 5 aggregates because it's a state where you temporarily suppress the hindrances. And in the second jhana, the level of peace would be much more higher because you have still the applied and sustained thought. In other words, you do not have that thinking pattern about the first jhana when you go into the second jhana. When you are in the second jhana, you don't have vitakka vichara. Vachi sankar is gone. So that the level of samadhi, level of mindfulness, and level of ekaggata would be much higher and stronger. So there you have the chance of reflecting the very mind of the second jhanic experience as anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Sometimes people believe that attainment to jhana makes the person totally out of thinking. totally. People used to say that, Bante, when I meditated, my mind goes somewhere and I did not feel anything. I don't know what to do. It's a state where there is no problem. Is that what is that, Bante, and so on? Could be a type of peaceful state, but I doubt whether it is to develop, because in the noble training, when you attain to first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, you are fully aware what you do. It may not be able to, you may not be able to explain what you experience, because it is there always that some people cannot explain what they experience, but they themselves feel it. So, because Sammaditi is always there with mindfulness and perseverance for the persons to reach to this level, so that without knowing, you cannot get into these jhanic experiences. The case would be there that you cannot explain it to somebody else, but you know. So the point is here that you know what exactly this experience. No, there is no vitakka, no vichara, no questions about that pleasure, no answers. So your mind has stopped talking about what you experience, or looking at the pleasure and also rapture born from samadhi. Earlier, it is said, Piti Sukha Ekaggata is because of seclusion, being away from hindrances. Now, because of the development of samadhi, you have the second jhanic qualities, so that you are mindful and you are wise and you are intelligent, you are aware of the second jhana experience. So you stay there longer, not one time, maybe many times, so that you fed up with the second jhana experiences. It does not mean that you create unwholesome thoughts over there. Could be because we talk about niramisa dukkha. Sometimes you are in the second jhana or third jhana or first jhana, and you worry about not getting any progress at all in your practice, so that you feel upset. So that is called niramisa dukkha, but that is not quite similar to the dukkha feeling, unpleasant feeling that ordinary people experience. But anyway, basically, when you experience the second jhana over and over, you find that it is impermanent. It is not staying with me all the time. It is only for a short period of time. So you see the conditionality of second jhana. So then you direct your mind to see its impermanent, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self, which means you see the 5 aggregates in your jhana. Second jhanic experience means 5 aggregates. So you look at it directly, so that there is the chance of destructing karmas or bhavas and avijjas completely, and attainment to full enlightenment. Or if you delight that Dhamma, you like it more, you ended up with non-return position. So that is what happened to in the second jhana. And I don't need to read what happened to us in the next 2 levels, next 2 ways of nirvana. Third jhana, and Venerable Anand talked about the third jhana as the door to nirvana, and also the fourth jhana as the door to nirvana. So basically, these are the 4 first avenues to nirvana, path to nirvana. So you can stay there and look at the very mind as impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and suffering, and attain nirvana. So we quickly go into other 7 ways of nirvana too. So having said these 4, Venerable Ananda continues. Again, with the fading away of as well of rapture and bhikkhu and interest upon abide in third jhana, that we read. Now Venerable Ananda is talking about in the discourse Bhikkhu, abide and pervading one quarter with the mind imbued with loving kindness. Give me a second. Yes. So now Venerable Ananda talks about the fifth avenue of Nirvana, fifth door or path or Nirvana. The disciples of the Buddha develop metta as a widespread quality, as a technique of meditation. So not only to one particular group of people, it is widespread. If you look at this kind of statement, Sutta statement, you can understand the very best way the Buddha or great disciples explain the way of practicing metta. A commentarial tradition provides us a way to practice metta, starting with may I be well, may I be happy, then may my parents, may my relatives, and so on, and then expand your horizon of loving kindness into the vast universe. So that is not said by the Buddha at all in the discourses. Buddha's approach to explain the practicing loving kindness is neutral always. If you look at the Karniyametta Sutta, he never said us to centers on you in practicing loving kindness. Just find a neutral ground. Dittava yeva additta and dureva santikeva. The living beings who are visible and invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth. So in that case, Buddha never put us into a cage like, okay, just take care of you first, then look at others. Some people may get wrong with this commentarial way of practicing loving kindness. But those who know about what loving kindness and they develop, they find this commentarial method is good. But those people who practice loving kindness without preliminary work on the Dharma develop more desire, more attachment to them. And I have found many people who practice loving kindness for years and years, they easily get angry. They easily get upset because they have developed attachment in the guise of loving kindness, because the method they use is not right. So here, pervading one quarter with the mind imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, above, below, around, everywhere, and to all as to him. Hereby pervading the encompassing world with the mind imbued with loving kindness. Abandoned, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. So it explains the entire practice of loving kindness anywhere in the discourse. So your loving kindness is full because you consider each and everyone equal to you. When you equalize yourself to everybody else in the world, the ego mind has been shattered, has been destroyed. The very idea of loving kindness practice is to take you into a position where you consider you are same as others. You are like others, so that I never make any provision, anything new to me, myself only, and disregard others. No. So that is on the other hand of loving kindness practice, you destroy ill will, but at the same time with the destruction of ill will, you have done with Sakkaya Ditthi as well. So when you feel that you have no grudge, no hate, no ill will, no frustration with anybody else, it means you are in full loving kindness practice. There you have the ground for making shift yourself into arahantship by considering or by reflecting. This is also impermanent. What is impermanent? That loving kindness or the state of loving kindness in your mind still is shakable. It still is impermanent. That pleasure, that feeling of love is going to change due to causes and conditions. It is volitionally produced. so that you see the impermanence of that very pleasure of loving kindness, so that you are finding holes to go into the immeasurable and that mental state where you don't find any footage of any beings, any existence, which means you destroy karmas or bhavas and avijjas and attain to full enlightenment. If not, as said by Karnamita Sutta, you might be ending your journey in the Brahma world as an arahant, or as a human being you attain to anagami level, you are gone through the 5 lower fetters. So that is the 5th place of attaining enlightenment. Then the second place, as you can rightly guess, the karuna, practicing karuna. Many people know how to practice metta, but it may not be easy for people to practice karuna as a meditation subject because it's not common in the tradition anymore. But it could be, if you see the distinguishing qualities between loving kindness and compassion, you can do it. And same as before, Venerable Ananda said, compassion is being practiced like before, like with loving kindness, so that you know the moment you should reflect that particular mind as impermanent. Again, there, with loving kindness, with full loving kindness in mind, what you have is form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. The level of attachment might, might exist in a subtle level, but still you have Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, nothing else, nothing at all, except those 5 things always is there. So then with karuna, the same lines, and then with mudita, sympathetic joy. Mudita is called also altruistic joy, which means you are happy by, basically, when it comes to its surface level, it means you are happy by seeing others' success. But when you come to meditation on mudita, you are kind of happy even when things go wrong. You are happy when you are not disturbed by when things do not happen in your way, because you have mudita about you. And when you are happy, when you are successful, you try your best to keep it in the same level. I mean, you are not going to enjoy it very much, because you cannot practice one quality alone. Metta, if you practice metta, karuna, mudita, upekka come to support it. Then only the metta becomes as it is. When you practice karuna, the other 3 should come together. Then only karuna becomes as it is. And likewise, mudita and upekka are there for supporting the other condition. So when you practice mudita here, upekka, part of upekka is also there, so that you are taking that particular mind, which means the 5 aggregates, to see the impermanence nature of it, and then unsatisfactoriness and non-self, so that you ended up your training with full enlightenment or anagami. Then the upekka, equanimity, balance of mind. So there you have no problem at all. Actually, this upekka is discussed very much in the 4th jhana itself. The upekka is highly developed. And then we have satta bojjhanga, the last bojjhanga by this name. And we have this in other places like paramita. So this is a kind of mental state where there is no any problem at all. So you have turned your mind into a very solid position, so that there is no problem at all. So this in the 4th in this 4th Brahma Vihara, upekka is not that developed like in the 7 factors of enlightenment, but it is a state where you have that peaceful state of mind. In other words, upekka is gained when mindfulness, concentration are developed into a certain level. So fourth jhana, upekka in the Brahma Vihara is such. So that is the eighth place, eighth mental state you stand on and delivered yourself into Nirvana, Arhanship, or Anagami experience. Now, the ninth one is Akasananchayatana, because I quickly go into them to save time for our discussion. So the ninth one is Akasananchayatana. Many people may not be getting this because it is not easy to understand, but if you read the discourse, this is what it says. Again, a bhikkhu abides pervading one quarter. No. Again, with the complete surmounting of perception of form. So you are letting go of the perception of form with the disappearance of perception of sensory impact, with non-attachment to perception of diversity, aware that space is infinite, a bhikkhu enters upon and abide in the base of infinite space, akasananchaya. So simply, this is what we do when you, if you want to attain akasananchaya. You take the space as the karmasthana or the concept and expand your mind on space, so that your mind doesn't have any solid thing, any form, any type of shape. So mind is having a perception which is a kind of space and empty. That is the sphere of infinite sphere of space. Yeah, when you take Anapanasati, it is not a formless meditation. It's a form. Meditation belongs to form, because even though you don't see the breath, even though you don't catch the breath by hand, but you can feel it. When the breath touches on the tip of the nose, it's become a roop object. It's a form. So, but space is space, no solid shape of it. So that your mind expand on the infinite space. It's called akasananchayatana. So that is the level of mindfulness must be very strong, according to Buddha's way of proclaiming the akasananchayatana is after the fourth jhana. But you can find them even prior to the Buddha. Alar Kala Muddakaramputta, famous figures who attain to this state, but there were many who attained to this state. So, but Buddha recommended it for someone to do it just after completing the four jhanas, because you are then in the noble eightfold path. If you directly go into this, you might get wrong, and the level of that peace and joy you have with the akasananchayatana is kept you there without moving towards vipassana, so that you practice first jhana, second jhana, fourth jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana first. There you, if you want to go on cheto vimutti, liberation of mind from those things further, you attain to akasananchayatana. But it's not required for enlightenment. Only those monks who attain both ways, Ubato Bhaga Vimutta, they do it. Otherwise, to attain to full enlightenment, you don't need. If you look at the four ways of first 8 ways, there is nothing about akasananchayatana. So you practice metta, there you practice vipassana with that and attain to full enlightenment. So Panya Vimutta Arahants never practice those akasananchayatana and so forth. So again, on the basis of infinite space, infinite, what do you call, infinite base of infinite space, you reflect that mind, which means form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness as impermanent, unsatisfactory, and non-self. There you have the attainment to Arahantship or Anagami. The second, that is the ninth avenues. Then we go to the 10th one. That is the infinite. The base is the base of infinite consciousness. So how do you move from the base of infinite space to the base of infinite consciousness? This is the case. When you are in the Akasananchayatana, at some point with experience, you understand that, okay, the space is considered as infinite by the consciousness, by the very mind. So you catch the space by the consciousness, that this consciousness is not eye consciousness, ear consciousness. And a part, this consciousness is bare consciousness in our mind. Mano Vinyana. So through Mano Vinyana, addressing those fundamental things of Vinyana, in Abhidhamma it is said those Bhavanga and so forth. So these are the mental state works there with these arupajanic experiences. So you see that this space is absorbed or considered by the consciousness, subtle conscious level, so that you expand that your attention on consciousness, that particular state of consciousness, so that you expand your mind on that. That is called Vijnana Chayatana. After attainment to it over and see every corner of it, you have the chance of reflecting it as anicca dukkha anatta, and as a result you attain to arahantship or anagami. The last thing is akinchanyayatana, which means base of infinite, the attainment of nothingness. So when you get into infinite consciousness, you see that even the consciousness is empty. That particular consciousness is also going and coming and going. It's not stable. So you shift your mind from there. There is nothing in this consciousness. So you expand your mind on nothingness there. As a result, you are there, and after getting more experience on it, you try your best to see impermanence of it, which means there is still panchaskandha. So then the attachment to panchaskandha is gone, which means you attain to arahantship or anagami level, depending on that. So these are the 11 ways of mental state or path or ways to attain nirvana, according to Venerable Ananda. So where Venerable Ananda completed the discourse, and Dasama said finally, I came to know just one path, but you have explained 10 more. So he compared it to something here. Let's say, I have come all at once to hear of 11 doors to deathlessness. Just as if a man had a house with 11 doors, and when that house caught on fire, he could flee to safety by any of those 11 ways. So I can flee to safety by any one of these 11 doors to deathlessness. So examples is very nice. So if you have 11 doors of a house, and that house is on fire, and you have 11 doors, 11 exits to get out of the fire. So technically this life is on fire. What are the fires we have? Raga, Dvesha, Moha. All these hindrances, asava, they are all fires. So we are burning always with desire, craving. And what are the doors we have to get out of this fire? These 11 ways, 11 paths. So Dasama seems understood the points, each and everyone, and was very, very happy about Venerable Ananda's explanation. At the end, we found that Dasama of Attakanagara assembled the Sangha from Pataliputta and Vesali, and he arranged a huge dana because he was a business person who he was able to do that. And he presented a pair of clothes to each bhikkhus. We don't know how much, how many monks were there, maybe a huge number. So, but he was able to offer pair of clothes to each bhikkhu, and he presented a triple robe to Venerable Ananda, and he had a dwelling worth 500 built for the Venerable Ananda. So, commentary says that this is 500,000 gold coins he spent for building this monastery for Venerable Ananda, including Venerable Ananda. So that is the sutta. Now we go to the discussion part. I think it's Vikum raised a hand, so you can take your chance to speak.
Teruvan Saranai Bhante, may I ask why the Neva Sanya, Nasanya, Jhana is not included in that process?
That's a very good question. So I think the Neva Sanya, Nasanya, the fourth formless state is so subtle for someone to reflect as anicca, dukkha, and anatta. We never found in any place in the Tripitaka that it is considered a door to nirvana, except going from there to sanya vedeti nirodha. It doesn't mean that that state help anyone to reflect anicca, dukkha, and anatta. So basically, my first point is that it is so subtle, so that the very person who attained to that state is in a kind of I don't know whether this word is right, dilemma, to understand whether there is sanya or not sanya, because he is deluded in a certain way whether I experience sanya or sanya is experience me. Neva sanya na sanya. He is doubt. This word might put into conclusion, different conclusion, sometime not right, but this is the way I can explain it. He is not in a certain state to understand what perception is. Neva sanya. He doesn't know whether sanya is gone or not. In other words, sanya has been the very mind of the person with regard to sanya is so subtle, so that it is said in the common conversation that any person who attained to that level cannot take the very mind for vipassana. So that is why Venerable Ananda did not mention that Neva Sanya, Na Sanya is a place of doing vipassana, mental state of doing vipassana, and do the rest of the thing.
Understood.
I believe, sorry, I think it's a good question and a good explanation, but I believe there's Anupada Sutra, next sutra, we talk about Neva Sanya, Nasanya, and also from the next stage, which is the Sanya Veda, the Nirodha, you can still go to full release, but the difference is you withdraw and it says there very clearly, you withdraw from that state of mind, jhana, and you release from that mindfully, and then you go to the destruction of pain. So it can be done, but you have to withdraw from, because it's so subtle, but you have to withdraw from that state. So it is stated in the other sutra. I kind of noted down.
Yeah, that's true. Even in Anupada Sutta, is the sutta you said Anupada Sutta?
Yes.
Yeah, Venerable Sariputta reached to all these states. No other monks or bhikkhuni in the sasana who reached to those 6 levels of jhana, just like Venerable Sariputta according to Buddha. And he has mastered on this. Even in the Neva Sanya, Nasanyayatana, Venerable Sariputta was able to go into each areas of Neva Sanya, Nasanyayatana mindfully and wisely. So from there he went to Neva Sanya, Nasanya, Sanya Veda Nirodha. Yeah, the other sutta you quoted said this. Let me find that. I cannot find it because my device is not working well. Anyway, yeah, so the very word, every time Venerable Ananda or the Buddha use emerge from, sometimes this word make us complicated. That's why those people who stick to only vipassana technique say that we should come out of first jhana and practice vipassana. But this sutta is very clear that you can do it based on that. When you have that jhanic experience, which means you have clear mind. So you are not disturbed by any new data from senses. So that there's a very ample, very clear ground for you to see that particular mind by mind itself, so that you see rising and passing, Udaya Vaya of the very state. But that is the only logical answer I can say, that it is so subtle, so refined, so that many people may not be able to do that. And as Dr. Pial said, yeah, you have to come out. You have to go. Easy way, I think, according to the tradition, is to go to Sanya Vedana. You take perception and feeling, because in the fourth Arupa Jhana, Neva Sanya, Na Sanya. So you are dealing with the Sanya. So Sanya is the problem. Rupa Sanya, Patigang Rupa Sanya, in the subtle teaching of the Buddha, you are dealing with the Sanya. Basically, humans and other living beings enjoy, looking for pleasant feeling on Sanya. Whatever you see, whatever you hear are labels, all Sanyas, Rupa Sanya, Sabda Sanya, Gandha Sanya, Rasa Sanya, and so you enjoy Sanya. They are all Rupa Sanya. So, cessation of feeling, of perception. What you do when you attain to Sanya Vedita Nirodha, you are not going to enjoy any perception whatsoever as pleasant or neutral or whatever. So I think that has not been done in the Neva Sanya, Na Sanya, because you are not clearing your mind about Sanya. Sometimes you feel, I'm saying this to understand the point clear. Sometimes you are fully aware of Sanya, sometimes you don't know what about Sanya is, because it's so subtle. So I think that is why it is not included in the as a door of Nirvana here.
And also this is said to a layperson, maybe so a little bit more complicated to get into those deep sets of jhanas. I guess it's still possible for the layperson to attain enlightenment in this situation, right? That's what Venerable Ananda is saying. This can be done, right? Otherwise he wouldn't.
Indeed, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Dasama didn't have any problem of what Venerable Ananda said.
Yeah.
But he seems understood everything.
Yeah. Other thing, at the beginning you talk about like this sutra could be after the time of Buddha. I think that there are a couple of clues. One thing is doesn't say where Buddha resides. Normally Buddha say Buddha is in Savasti, or it doesn't say that. Number two is Venerable Ananda got fully enlightened after passing away of the Buddha. Now Venerable Ananda very freely talking about enlightenment here, like to instruct someone. Unless he has experienced it, he would not talk about all these different methods. So I believe this could be after the time of Buddha, but those two clues. I mean, it's academic, but it's just because you brought this up,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. It could be that the Buddha passed away and Venerable Ananda, Venerable Ananda stayed alone. The other point of discussion is that Venerable Ananda, supportive conditions to, this is supportive conditions to what you said. So so this could be discussed in the first Sangha Council, right? Definitely, according to our understanding. So Venerable Ananda attained full enlightenment before the first day of the first Sangha Council, according to the available information. So then the meeting of Dasama might, having this meeting with Venerable Ananda after the first Sangha Council. If that happens, how could Venerable Ananda said this, I met Dasama over there, and so on. I think it's puzzling for us if you go into details, chronology and all these things. But if those academics wants to have arguments on different things, as Dr. Pial said, we can go on those things. Anyway, for me, this sutta is so important because the way Venerable Ananda explained is helpful for some people, that Nibbana can attain from different places of practice. So only thing we need to do is looking at our own feeling, own mind as anicca, dukkha, and anatta, right?
Venerable sir, can't we take that the first question that Dasama asked us, that he wants to meet Bhikkhu Ananda, not Buddha. Usually somebody comes to see Buddha. Here it is a different situation.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, we find similar situations when sometimes when some people needed to meet only Venerable Sariputta, not the Buddha. Even the Buddha lived, where some people wanted to meet Venerable Sariputta. So yeah, you must be right. And people came to know about Venerable Buddha's parinirvana. Now Venerable Ananda is famous for his scholarship on Dhamma, so that people might be looking for next available person who knows the Dhamma. The other thing is that Venerable Ananda is so pleasant for people. The very name Ananda, is given to him by his parents because of his tender qualities, humble qualities. So all the bhikkhunis like Venerable Ananda. But Venerable Mahakassapa, Sariputta, Moggallana, they were not considered that good with relationship with others. Venerable Ananda was so nice, pleasant, so that even Dasama would be looking for Venerable Ananda. Oh, if this happened, let's say this happened after the Buddha's Parinibbana, even after the Sangha Council, Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Moggallana passed away even before the Buddha. So they were not in the Sasana. I think 6 months before the Buddha's Parinirvana, 7 months, I think. Venerable Moggallana passed away, and after 5 or 6 months, before 6 months, before 5 months, Venerable Sariputta passed away. So we all know that they were not there for any persons to meet, for any Dhamma, if this happened after Buddha's Parinirvana. So this is Attaka Nagara Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta number 52. So now what we need to do is to get into these jhanic experiences. If you read that email sent by Dr. Pial, and also if you find other discourses that talks about jhana, attainment to first jhana is necessary for someone to destroy craving. Without jhanic power, you cannot do it. In other words, if you look at from another angle, jhana is included in Samma Samadhi of the Noble Eightfold Path. Some Samadhi Bojjanga is there, Samadhi Bala and Samadhi Indri is there. So without jhanic powers, without Samadhi qualities, you are not going to destroy any craving completely. So attainment to jhana is quite necessary. Either you take vipassana techniques, vipassana karmasthana, you have to gain jhanic powers, jhana qualities at least, to attain nirvana. Then people ask questions like this. Ante, some monks and nuns and even lay people attain to Sotapanna, Sakadavagami, Anagami, Arhants, very few, while they listen to the Buddha. How could that happen? Did they attain to first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana? Friends, we do not have any indication of attainment to first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana by those people who attain to stages of enlightenment while listening. But they were able to get the jhana quality as a whole while listening. If you look at Vimuttayatana Sutta and other suttas, what these monks and nuns and lay people did, they were able to get the jhanic experience, samadhi experience by the power of those faculties, sama, saddha, virya, sati, samadhi, panya, so that they haven't gone to those jhani experiences stages by stage, but they have that quality of jhana so that they could quickly break those range of defilements. That's how they attain to Sotapanna, Sakadagami, and Aga. So those who take karmasthana and stay longer in jhani experiences might enjoy the jhani pleasure and do vipassana on there to complete their training. But same thing happened at the end. So that's what I can include at last. So if you do not have any questions, we can finish the discussion from here. Dr. Pial is going to say something.
Bante,
Yes.
the one I just didn't understand is when it says desire for Dhamma and delight in Dhamma. So that is a hindrance here for in this situation, right? Well, is it because maybe some of the other sutras I've read, the Buddha talk about restlessness to realize the teaching. So is it like, is it probably the one of the fetters to go last, restlessness? Because it is not the restlessness we talk about in the 5 hindrances, because that's already gone, right? When you achieve already some sort of samadhi, right? So this is a different type of restlessness. So maybe they are talking about the same thing, Dhamma, desire for Dhamma and delight in Dhamma. So it's like a corruption of insight. In other words, in I think they talk about in Anguttara Nikaya 4.170, I think it talks about the restlessness to realize the teaching. And also there is also another things happening. There is also one has like overestimation of oneself, mana. So the last two could be here. The last mana and the restlessness is called which Uddhacca Kucha, right? In this situation. So maybe the last two fetters are either mana because of the overestimation of oneself. Maybe that's what they mean by, I mean, here I don't think they explain fully in this sutra, but they say desire for Dhamma and delight in Dhamma. I mean, it's not a bad thing. Well, how it could be hindrance, right? So
that's true.
In this way, maybe it's a subtle point, but I don't know if it's that important.
It is a subtle point indeed, because the one who attained to Anagami level has completely cut off his connection with the karma world, actually. That's why we see Visakha, Gatikara, they were having lay life, but not really. So they cannot they cannot live lay life completely. They are totally cut off it. Anyway, they are lay life. So as you said, I think Dhamma Raga and Dhamma, what is the other one? Dhamma
Mana
Raga.
Kamaraga, Ruparaga, Mana.
Yeah. So Dhamma Raga means they have that raga kind of subtle desire for form and formless, which means Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. They have subtle level of attachment to those form and formless states. So that as you correctly explained, Mana, Uddacha, Avijja is there in a subtle way. That Uddacha, restless mind, is to the extent of subtle desire for Rupa and Arupa. And Mana also is to the extent of that desire for Rupa and Arupa. And Avijja is also to the extent of the level of desire for Rupa and Arupa. So, Rupa Raga, Arupa Raga, Man, Uddacha, Avijja, these are the five, subtle fetters that Anagami still has. So, the problem, I think, start from that delightness means, and Raga means Raga and delightness for Rupa and Arupa, which means, again, in other words, Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vinyana. So because of that, his mind is restless. Because of that, he has some type of mana. Because of that, he has some ignorance. We should not understand that he has full ignorance, full restless mind, full mana, but it is in a subtle way. I think the pleasure he is going to experience make him the problem of attaining full enlightenment, because when you know that you have this very subtle mental experience, and he might stay there longer and longer, and he may not be able to get it. But anyway, it is a personally, if I share with you my personal experience, I don't want to attain Anagami and stay there longer, because it's a very what do you call state that I don't want, which means I never get it, because you create a don't want things. It's something I just wanted to share, because in the teaching, the state of Anagami is not that explained like other state, and Sakurdagami also. But we have many information about Sotapanna and Arahants, but not these two. In Anguttara Nikaya, we find some information about Anagami, different type of Anagami. Antara Parinibbai, Asankara Parinibbai, Sasankara Parinibbai, then Uddang Soto Akanitagami. So some Anagamis who attain to that level as a human die, and before they reborn in Avijja Brahma world, which is the lowest Brahma realm that Anagamis appear, they confirm their full enlightenment. It's we don't have information to think about it, unfortunately, how this happened. And then Asankara Parinibbai, he doesn't do any effort for full enlightenment, but he attained full enlightenment. So then Sasankara Parinibbai, he works on the Dhamma very much, so that as a result, he attained to full enlightenment there. And then Uddan Soto Akanitagami, from Avijja Brahma world to the last one in the order, highest one, Akanitagami. Some Anagamis appear in the Avijja Brahma world, then they go Avijja, Atappa, and they go to the highest Brahma. There they attain full enlightenment. Yeah. Gatikara, according to the sources, who met Daruchirya and also Kumara Kassapa, that Deva, that Brahma was one of the 7 persons meditated on the rock with the with the Daruchirya and so forth. And it happened during another Buddha, previous Buddha's lifetime, but he was still in the Brahma realm, and came to Daruchirya and also Kumara Kassapa for helping them. So we can think that there are Anagamis in the Brahma realm even at present time, and definitely those who attain to Sotapanna, Sakurdagami, they might be in those Sakurdagami might reborn in once in the Kama Loka. So simply we can expect those accept the fact that those enlightened beings are still in this world. So if you do not have any more concern and questions with regard to the discourse we discuss in a certain way, we are going to end today's sutta discussion, because in about 1 hour time I have another program with Sri Lankan in Sri Lanka. So tomorrow we have day-long program. So it's so nice that we took this Atthakkanagara Sutta from Majjhima Nikaya, and it allows us to talk about something very important about jhana, and also based on jhana to attain full enlightenment. I hope you understand the skeleton of the discourse. Thank you very much for selecting this discourse, Derek. And thank you, Dr. Pial, for your questions. And Chandrayanona, thank you. And all these good friends who listened to the discourse and reflected on the Dhamma on it, we thank you. And may these blessings be with you, and may we all attain Nirvana by the power of this Dhamma sharing. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.